Hello everyone, welcome to this course, Kinematic Assessment and Human Movement. My name is Dong Huang. Today's topic is basic science. Before starting this course, we need to know terminologies in this field. Then we can academically describe our assessment results as well as you can understand what other experts say. Here are contents. First, we need basic knowledge about anatomical terminology to describe our body posture and motion. Secondly, physiology. We will see how the muscles and nerves are working. Thirdly, basic kinematics. So we will know about how to describe motion in general. Finally, we will try to measure our own body at home. In this video, we will focus on anatomical terminology. We start with the standard position of human body as a reference. In addition, I will explain anatomical planes and axes. First, we start with the standard anatomical position of the human body shown on the left side. This is in the front view of our human body with muscle and skeleton. The body is just standing up slightly and turning the palms to look forward. The standard anatomical position is important because this is the reference of the anatomical description of our body, especially when you talk about directions. Of course, the anatomical description is necessary for share our measurement results with other practitioners, therapists, and measurement experts. Now we will see the anatomical axes, which are related to directions. Humans live in three-dimensional space, shortly 3D space. So there are three axes. The first one is the longitudinal axis. Here this seminar I will say z-axis for simple explanation. Along with this axis, we already know where is upper and lower direction. Anatomical terms are superior and inferior direction, respectively. The second is medial lateral axis. Here I will say y-axis. Along this, we can see the right and left directions. The thing is, the right and the left side are decided from the point of view of the body, not our point of view. That means the right is on your left side and the left is on your right side. Last one is the anterior and posterior axis. I would like to say the x-axis. For this, we need to see the side view of the body. We can define the front and back directions. The anatomical terms are anterior and posterior direction, respectively. Most of academic conference and journal articles use these terms for human body kinematics. If you know the anatomical terms, you can understand the articles. And this will be helpful when you write your own academic articles. For two pictures, I told the front view and the side view, but there are also academic terms for the different points of view of our body. Let me explain the three standard anatomical planes for the point of view. These images are animated by a motion capture system. In our lab, we use Extern's MVN system for motion capture. Look at the left top. One avatar is walking, and you can see it in a free mode as a casual view. The other views are from three anatomical standard planes: coronal, sagittal, and transverse plane. First, it is the coronal plane. This plane is also called the frontal plane. This plane contains the longitudinal and medial lateral axis. When you look at the body through the coronal plane, you can have the two-dimensional images as like right top. You can also describe the movement on YZ coordinate system. For better understanding, there are some examples. It is easy to observe these motions in the coronal plane. You can call coronal plane workouts. In this view, lateral downs. You can measure the angle of the elbows. Lateral lunges. You can easily see the movement of the leg and the center of mass. Side bend. You can also measure the angle of the trunk. The second is the sagittal plane. Another name is the median plane. It is familiar to you as the side view. This plane contains the longitudinal and anterior-posterior axis. Through the sagittal plane, you can have the 2D image shown as the right top on the XZ coordinate system. There are examples of sagittal plane workout. In the view through the sagittal plane, you might have advantage for your measurement of these workouts: bicep curls, lunges, and crunches. Imagine that you are a coach. You can give feedback to a trainee based on your observation. For example, you can advise them to extend their arm more or bend their knees more. Finally, there is a transverse plane. You can see the avatar from the sky or the ground. You can also call horizontal plane. This plane contains the medial-lateral and anterior-posterior axis. Through the transverse plane, you can have the 2D image as like right top on the XY coordinate system. There are some transverse plane workouts. From the left, chest flies, seated abduction, adduction, and Russian twists. Imagine that what they look like in transverse plane. Arms, legs, and trunk motions will be clear in the transverse plane. If you know these planes, you can find better observation positions, which leads to your effective description for the different kinds of motion. Up to now, we saw the motions of the part of the body, the arms, legs, and trunks. From now, we will talk more about anatomical axis for angular motions of the whole body. There are angular motions when your body is rotating on one of the axes: the longitudinal, medial-lateral, and anterior-posterior axis. The first is the rotating motion on the anterior-posterior axis. These kinds of motions are well observed through the coronal plane. This is because the anterior-posterior axis is perpendicular to the coronal plane. The longitudinal axis is an example line on the coronal axis, which are also perpendicular to the anterior-posterior axis. This is an example picture. A guy is doing the side somersault. This is the angular motion rotating on the anterior-posterior axis. We can observe well through the coronal plane. The second is the medial-lateral axis. Rotating motion on the medial-lateral axis is well observed by the sagittal plane. This is because medial-lateral axis is perpendicular to the sagittal plane. There are some examples for these kinds of motions. From the pictures, we can see gymnastics on the beam. The left picture is a somersault and the right one is the back tuck. Through the sagittal plane, we can observe the somersault well. In the right picture, from the coronal plane, you can see where is the y-axis, but I don't think this is the best place to understand the whole body motion. Finally, there is a longitudinal axis. Rotating motion on the longitudinal axis is well observed through the transverse plane because longitudinal axis is perpendicular to the transverse plane. There are examples. On the left, this is the spin of figure skating. She is rotating on the longitudinal axis. We might have the better observation through the transverse plane. Someone can say that it is more beautiful to look in the side view. But to measure the rotating degree and speed, it would be better observation on the transverse plane. The right picture is the taekwondo breaking demonstration. He is performing a roundhouse kick in the air. He is rotating on the longitudinal axis, observed through the transverse plane. This is the best plane to measure the speed of the kick. Thank you for your attention. For the next video, please click the video on the bottom right.